Hello and welcome to the 41st lecture on the history of modern India. Indira's years from 1980 to 1984. In this video, we will have a brief overview of what was happening in India during the years 1980 to 1984, which was the period of Indira Gandhi's last Prime Minister term. Indira Gandhi was at work on the world stage, rebuilding bridges torn down during emergency. Mrs. Gandhi was deeply concerned about her battering image. Now that she had been returned to power via the ballot box, she was determined to repair the damage. For a full 8 months in 1982, the United Kingdom hosted a Festival of India, featuring exhibitions of Indian art at the Victoria and Albert Museum, concerts by Ravi Shankar and M.S. Subbulakshmi at the Royal Festival Hall, and much else. The festival was promoted and partly funded by the Government of India. The Indian Prime Minister visited the UK at its beginning and end, emerging as the star of the show. The Festival of India was deemed a great success by its organizers. Similar events were to follow in the United States, the Soviet Union, and France. As it happened, the festival in London coincided with an indefinite strike by the textile workers of Bombay. They were led into action by Datta Samant, a medical doctor whose political ideology was uncertain, but who possessed sufficient charisma to allow him to supplant the socialists and communists who had hitherto led the city's trade unions. Datta Samant's career in Bombay began with a unit called Empire Dyeing, where he was able to get the workers a salary increase of Rs 200 per month. His success encouraged him to move into other factories. Soon, the bulk of the workers in Bombay's vast textile industry owed their allegiance to him. Their wages had grown incrementally over the years, but inadequately protected against inflation. They sought an overhaul of the salary structure. Samant asked that the minimum wage be increased from Rs 670 to Rs 940 per month. When the demand was rejected out of hand, he called for a strike. Beginning on 18th January 1982, the strike was to last almost 2 years. More than 2 lakh workers participated, and more than 2 crore 20 lakhs million man days of work were lost. In the countryside too, there were stirrings along class lines. Naxalite activists detained during the emergency but released afterwards were making their presence felt in the tribal areas of Andhra Pradesh, among communities oppressed by the state's forestry department and by Hindu moneylenders. Other Naxalite groups were at work in the plains of central Bihar, organizing Harijan laborers against their upper caste landlords. Some sympathizers, such as Swedish writer Jan Myrdal, saw in these stirrings the possibility and hope that the Chinese Revolution might one day find its Indian counterpart. The early 1980s saw fresh mobilization on the lines of ethnicity as well. The movement for a tribal state of Jharkhand had taken new and more militant forms. By official figures, some 30,000 million had been spent on tribal development in the Chota Nagpur plateau. Where this money had gone, it was hard to say, because the people still lived in a primeval darkness, without schools, hospitals, roads, or electricity, with their lands seized by the outsiders and their forests closed to them by the state. The protests in Jharkhand were led by Shibu Soren, a young man with long black locks who quickly became a folk hero. There were also demands, if not as actively expressed as in Jharkhand, for two new states, Chhattisgarh, to be carved out of the tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh, and Uttarakhand, constituting the Himalayan districts of Uttar Pradesh. These two were regions rich in timber, water, and minerals, in resources increasingly exploited by and for the benefit of larger national economy, yet dispossessing the local inhabitants in the process. The 1980s also saw a renewal of Naga militancy. During the emergency, the government of India had been able to persuade many members of Fizo's Naga National Council to lay down their arms and come out of hiding. Some in the administration hoped that this Shillong Accord would signal the end of the rebellion. However, the accord was seen as a sellout by Naga radicals such as T. Muiwa. Muiwa was a Thankul Naga who, in the 1960s, had been one of the first to seek the help of China. Muiwa had stayed 4 years in Yunnan, being trained by the People's Liberation Army. Deeply impressed by the Cultural Revolution, he sought to blend its ideals with the faith he was born into, thus, to combine evangelical Christianity with revolutionary socialism. In 1980, Muiwa and Isaac Su set up the National Socialist Council of Nagaland. By now, Chinese aid had dried up, so Muiwa instead built up links with other insurgent groups in India's northeast and in Burma. A journalist who met him in his jungle reported Muiwa's view that the only hope the Nagas had to achieve their independence would be if India itself broke up. The Naga leader had his contacts among Sikh militants and Kashmiri separatists, and he fervently hoped a similar movement would emerge among the Tamils of southern India. Worried by the birth of NSCN, the Indian government increased troop deployment in the Ukhrul district of Manipur. On 19th February 1982, the insurgent ambushed a convoy on the Imphal-Ukhrul road, killing 22 soldiers of the Sikh regiment, some officers among them. The army's answer was to go on a rampage, searching every village in the district, abusing the men and attacking the women. A civil liberties team visited the area, recording the testimonies of the victims. They found that even though only a few people supported the underground, they were all suspects in the eyes of the army. There were movements for separate or new states within or outside the Union, and movements for greater autonomy within existing states. In the old Congress stronghold of Andhra Pradesh, there was growing resentment at the centre's tendency to impose chief ministers. Between 1978 and 1982, Mrs. Gandhi changed the state's chief minister no fewer than 4 times. In February 1982, the new incumbent went to Hyderabad airport to welcome Rajiv Gandhi, accompanied by a huge pose of supporters with garlands. Rajiv chastised the chief minister for bringing a crowd, and in such strong words that there were tears in the chief minister's eyes. The humiliation was felt personally and collectively, with the Telugu media portraying it as an insult to the pride of the Andhras. Among those provoked into action was the great film star N.T. Ramarao, who was to Telugu cinema what M.G. Ramachandran had been to its Tamil counterpart, its acknowledged hero and superstar. The new party was formed in March 1982. Elections to the state assembly were due at the end of the year. In preparation for the polls, N.T.R. toured the districts of the state, speaking out against the corrupt administration of the Congress. He travelled in a van, remodeled to look like a carrot. Telugu Desam won a comfortable two-thirds majority in the assembly. In the second week of January 1983, Ramarao was sworn in as Chief Minister at the Fateh Maidan in Hyderabad, with 2 lakhs cheering Andhras crowded into the crowd. One of N.T.R.'s first act on assuming power was to instruct his food department to sell rice at 2 rupees per kilogram to redeem a promise made before the polls. In general, he acted as if he was the party as well as government. In this respect, emulating his friend N.T.R. as well as his rival Indira Gandhi. One socialist commented, "If the Prime Minister thinks that she is India, then N.T.R. behaves as if he is the sole representative of the 6.5 crores of Telugu people." Telugu Desam MLAs have no voice in shaping the policies and programs of the government. N.T.R. runs the show both as a chief minister and also as the president of his party. Like Mrs. Gandhi, again N.T.R. was prone to nepotism. While all this was going on, there was a movement rising up in Assam due to the problem of language compounded by the influx of immigrants. In our next video, we will discuss the crisis in Assam and movements emerged in Assam. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and comment because discussion is solution. For more discussions, please subscribe our channel.